Whatever you do, stop thinking about pink elephants. No pink elephants, none at all. See, the same thing happens when we try to not have lustful thoughts. All we can think about is those lustful thoughts. And we get so consumed with them. We become blind to God, blind to others, and blind to what we really want. And we give up what we really want and give in to the lustful thoughts. Hello, my friend. My name's Zach, and on this channel, it's for Christian husbands that want to live an uncommon life. And we cannot live an uncommon life while we're viewing pornography. They just don't go hand in hand. And that's not to shame you, but that's just the reality, is that secret sin and acting out lustfully is what common people do. And God calls us to live above reproach. If you're new here, my quick backstory is I was addicted to pornography starting at about 13 years old. And it continued on in my marriage. And I hated that I did it, but unfortunately I kept returning back. By the grace of God, I am free from the bondage of pornography, and it's been over 14 years. And God has restored so much in my life. And I want the same for you if you're trapped in the cycle. This will help you to free yourself from it. More importantly, God will free you from it. See, there are 4 simple things you can do that you can overcome that temptation for pornography, and you can turn it into something completely different. 1 Corinthians 10:13 states this: "No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it." See, when we're in that moment, I believe we do not see the way out that God has given us because we're so blind and we're so tempted. So we're going to go through exactly what those steps are so that you can be more than a conqueror in this area as well. The first step is to pre-decide what to do. This is so crucial. And every step is crucial. But if we don't pre-decide, we're sunk. Because here's what happens. When we are in that lustful part of the brain, we are no longer in the thinking portions of our brain. That's why, like Paul says, I do things that I don't want to do. Like, that's what we do in those moments. Your true desire, your heart desire is to be a faithful man to what God has called you to be faithful to your wife, to be faithful in these areas. And mine was too, but in that moment, I went into lizard brain mode, and we can't think in that mode. So if we don't have this map laid out in advance, we're going to be drawn back to the carnal flesh. And so pre-decide that you're not going to look at it. Pre-decide to set up boundaries in place to make it a little easier. I've worked with men for years, and some men pre-decide their failure. They say that they want to be free of porn, yet keep magazines in their house. Or they want to be free of porn, but bookmark pages for other points. That is pre-deciding failure, my friend. Let's just be frank. It's planning to fail. And the next 3 steps are very simple. They're not complicated. But if you don't pre-decide that this is what you're going to do when temptation comes, you're going to go in that lizard brain, and lustful thoughts are going to be overwhelming. And like I did so many times, act out on those, and then the moment I was done, be filled with shame and regret. And I don't want that for you. So pre-decide this new path. The second step is to be in the light. This sin grows in hiddenness and in the shadows. And we can lie to ourselves on a few different fronts. We can lie to ourselves that we can figure this out on our own. We can lie to ourselves that we got it. This time I'm going to be strong. We can lie to ourselves that no one will love me if they knew what I'm doing. These are lies that grow in the darkness as in the shadows. And the moment you're tempted, it needs to come to the light. And this is how I do it. When I'm in a tempting situation coming up, so let's say my family leaves for the weekend, I tell community in advance. My family's going to be gone. I'm going to be a little more vulnerable than normal. Or living in the light, putting up a software on your phone like Covenant Eyes. And if you don't have Covenant Eyes and you want it, in the description below, there'll be a 30-day free trial. But this being in the light when you're tempted is so crucial. You need to build a community around you that the moment temptation comes, you don't go, am I going to be strong this time? Do I have it? Or I got it. It's immediately the light in two different ways. The light by texting a group of men that you're going in the same direction, you're both trying to get free. Hey, I'm feeling tempted right now. And then bringing it to God and prayer. Bringing both of those things in the light. And that is the exact opposite of what we want to do in that moment. We want to stay hidden. But God is light. Satan works in the darkness and the shadows. Have you ever noticed that things that you try to keep secret and keep under wraps just grow and expand? But when you put it in the light, it shrinks back. So that's the first step. Light in community, light with God. The next step, get moving. In fact, I was reminded of in the Bible, Joseph. If you're not familiar with the story, Joseph is getting pursued by Potiphar's wife, which was very beautiful and wanting him to sleep with her. And what does he do in that moment? He runs. He books it. He even leaves his garment there because he's running so fast. And I think we can forget that we need to flee temptation. You know, after sharing it with community, after sharing it with God, you run. Now, maybe it's literal, go for a run. Maybe it's lift weights. Maybe if it's remove yourself from your house because you're home alone and you need to be out in community. Whatever it is, change your environment. Don't just sit there. We're tempted to just sit passively and then go, I got it. Have you ever tried to not think about it when you're tempted in that way? It doesn't work. All you're going to do is think about it more. Remove yourself. You can't hold two things in your brain at the same time. It's kind of wild. But you can't be thinking about running and thinking about lustful thoughts. If you're running and still being in a lustful place, it's because you're thinking about that and you're running just automatically and not thinking about it. But get your body moving. You know, sometimes we can forget that God made us a spiritual being, but we're also a physical one. And we need to engage with the body at times and move. Or you're tempted and you're on, let's say you're watching YouTube or you're watching the TV and the lustful thoughts are coming. Turn it off and do something else. It's really simple and we can forget that. The fourth thing, worship. I have never entertained my lustful thoughts while singing worship songs to God. I've never acted out while I'm doing that. I've never done that while I'm praying to Him. I've never done that while I'm reciting scripture over myself. These are ways in which we worship. And when we can flip this where temptation becomes, we're going into light, we're moving our body, and we're now worshiping God who made you. I've watched so many times temptation fall away. So we can forget that in those moments, our heart is wanting something. Our heart is needing something. And oftentimes, all our heart is needing is to reconnect with our Father who loves us and feel seen by our Father who loves us. And we can do that through singing songs, through memorizing scripture and reciting those, or even worshiping within community. So if you follow these steps, I know that God will show you the way out. You know why I know that? Because the Bible tells me it's going to do that. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says that He provides a way out. And when we do these 4 steps, you will see the path that He has for you to avoid the temptation and turn to Him. Hey, when I was trapped in pornography, all these steps helped. And one verse in particular that I memorized and started to practice helped free me from the shackles of pornography. If you're interested in what that is, watch this video right here. I'll tell you what it is and how it'll help you. God bless you in your journey. You got this, my friend, with God's might and God's power.